This is the third video of lecture 3, which addresses dictionaries in Python. After this lecture, you can create a dictionary, traverse it, update it, and also explain the advantages of a dictionary over a list. First, I would like you to pause here for 2 minutes and try to answer this, try to develop a program for this question. Here is the answer to this question. As you can see here, we have a list of lists called teachers. Uh, we get a value from the user and we try to look for that value, which is a teacher ID in the list. And we then at the end print the associated value, which is the name of that teacher. If we don't find the teacher, we print teacher ID is not found. I wanted to use the previous example of the list of lists to show why we need a dictionary. Before doing that, first you need to be able to create a dictionary. To create a dictionary, you need to provide a name, then use the equal sign, and then put, write down 2 curly brackets. In between the 2 curly brackets, you need to uh, separate the items using commas. Each item requires a key and a value. The key and value are separated by a colon. So as you can see here in this example, I have a list of teachers. Each item, each teacher has 2 parts. The first part is the TID, which is the key for this teacher. And the second part is the name of that teacher, which is the value in that item. You can see here that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teachers, 7 items, and each item has a teacher ID and a teacher name. So if we replace that list of list with this dictionary and then get the teacher ID from the user, we can easily access an item using the key provided by the user. So when the user provides the key, we only need to write down the name of the dictionary, put a bracket, and put the teacher ID in between, which is the key of that item. And Python will easily return the value of that item, which is, in this case, the uh, teacher name for that teacher ID. So as you can see here in this code, we wrote and print teachers and in brackets TID, which is the key provided by the user. So if now, as if the user enters 2000, if the user enters 2018-0912, then the dictionary, this print function teachers TID will return Amin, and Amin is printed. If the TID does not exist, if a random number such as 123 is provided, then the dictionary returns a key error. And you can use try except to handle that runtime error and print teacher ID is not found. You can also use the in operator to check if a key exists in a dictionary. As you can see here, I checked if TID provided by the user exists in teachers by saying if TID in teachers, and if that's not the case, in the else part, I I wrote down print teacher ID is not found. But if the TID exists in the dictionary, we can simply print teachers in bracket TID, which will uh, retrieve the name of that teacher and print it. So you can see here that uh, the code is very smaller in comparison to the code for list of lists. So why do we use dictionaries? Because whenever we have a value and we want to return an associated value, dictionaries can make the coding way easier for us, make it way faster. Uh, they can also check if a value is valid, if a value exists in the dictionary or not, way easier in comparison to a list of lists. So here, as you can see, the big code that I had for the list of lists has been turned to a very small, easy code, which is also easy to understand. Now that we learned why we use dictionary, where we use dictionaries, we need to be able to traverse a dictionary. So a simple version of doing that will require you to use the operators of in and the for loop statement. As you can see here, you would use for. In the for clause, you will provide um, a variable name, which is the key in that dictionary. So in each iteration, uh, one item is selected and the key of that item is put in the key variable that you suggested in the for clause. And in the in clause, you provide the name of the dictionary and then you put a column. To get the value of that item, you need to provide the name of the dictionary and then uh, in brackets you need to provide the key, which is exactly the name of the variable that you provided in the for clause. And that will retrieve the value of that item and then you can print it. As you can see here, I have teachers again as a dictionary with teacher IDs and the name of the teacher. I use for. I'm going in the for clause. I'm going to use TID to store the keys in each iteration. And after that, I provide in and then the name of the dictionary, which is teachers. Now, to print key and value, you can simply use the name of the key, which is TID here. Again, this is the name of the variable that is repeated in the for clause. And then you use the name of the dictionary and the bracket and the key variable in between the brackets to retrieve value. So that's the simple version of traversing a dictionary. However, you can also traverse a dictionary in a faster version. You need to use the method of items for this dictionary. Uh, in the for clause, you need to provide two variable names, key and value, which are separated by a comma. And then you use the in clause, and in the in clause, you need to provide the name of the dictionary, then point, and then items and parentheses, and after that columns. Now you can access to key and value inside the for loop by simply using key and value. So in my example of teachers, I'm going to name the key and value as TID and TNAME respectively. So TID is the key, TNAME is the value, and then I use in teachers.items. So rather than having for TID in teachers, now I have for TID comma TNAME in teachers.items. So then inside the for loop, uh, I can use TID and TNAME to retrieve the key and value for each item. Note that in the previous simple version, I didn't have TNAME. I had to use teacher's bracket TID, which takes more time, which takes longer time to retrieve the value. So this version is faster than the previous version. First, try to execute the previous programs line by line and see the variable sections, the variable panel, to make sure that you have a complete understanding of the dictionaries and traversing dictionaries. Then try to answer this exercise. You need, I guess, 2 or 3 minutes to answer this exercise. You need to turn the dictionary that you see here into a list of lists. So keep that in mind that you are not allowed to touch the lines that includes do not touch. This is the same for the final exam and the midterm exam. You are not allowed to touch those part of codes. If a part of code is written is um, includes do not touch. So here's the answer to that question. Okay, it is very important that you choose the correct key. If you want to give the teacher ID and get teacher name, teacher ID must be the key and teacher name must be uh, the value. However, if you want to give the name and get the teacher ID, then you shouldn't create teacher as you see, here. The name must be the key, the first part of an item, and teacher ID must be the second part of this item to be written after the colon. What happens if you provide a wrong key? If you misplace keys and values, as you can see here, if you want to retrieve the teacher ID using a teacher's name, you have to write a code as complex as what you see here. And this code is exactly like the code that sort of like the code that you have created for the list of lists as for exercise 0. So you see there is no point in creating a dictionary if you choose a wrong key. It would be completely useless. So always see what you're going to give, what you're going to get from the user and what you're going to give to the user. And then based on that, choose the key and the value in the dictionary. We also sometimes need to update a dictionary. To change an item, you can easily give the name of the dictionary, put a brackets, uh, and provide the key of the item that you want to change its value. And then after the equal sign, just provide the new value. As you can see here, I changed my name from Amin to Amin Amiri by providing my teaching ID, and I did the same for my colleague. You can also create a new item simply, using the same style of operation for changing an item. You can also add a new item by providing the new key. Note that the key should not be repeated. The key should not exist in the dictionary. So you provide a new key in between brackets, and after the equal sign, you provide the name of provide the new value. Here I added another colleague of mine in the dictionary. Pause here for a minute and develop a program that gets a list of lists as you can see here in the slide, and try to turn that into a dictionary. Here is the answer to this exercise. So in summary, we use dictionaries if we need to get a value and return an associated value. We create dictionaries using curly brackets. Each and a dictionary can have several items. Items are separated by comma. Each item has one key and one value. The key and value must be separated by a colon. You can access the value of an item by bracket key. You can traverse a dictionary using, a simple for key in dictionary name, or you can have a fast traversing of a dictionary by using for key comma value in the name of dictionary point items. Note that it is very important to choose a correct key, otherwise there is no point in using a dictionary. And you can change the value of an existing key by using the name of the dictionary and bracket. And in a similar vein, you can add a new item to the dictionary. Okay, in the appendix, I quickly went over various types of data structures in Python. You can see that for what type of requirements you need to choose which data type. For example, if order matters and you want to be able to accept different data types, and you don't need to do the same operation on all elements, and you want that data structure to be changeable, something like queue for different objects, then you need to go for list. And here I also explained the popular actions that you may need to work with these different data structures. I also explained the difference between the array and list in detail here, and also the detail of the differences between numpy array and the list. If you have any question, you can ask them during the interactive lecture.